time for video time with Jodi.
Hey guys, so this month we've been talking about determination, which is not giving up. And this week we're going to talk about not giving up when things don't necessarily go your way or the way that you expected them to. So when I was growing up, I played a lot of sports. And I remember the first year that I could play volleyball, I got really excited. I've been waiting to play volleyball for forever, and my brother had played volleyball, so he had helped me play volleyball and get ready and stuff. So I'd practiced really, really hard for this tryout. And what was going to happen is there was going to be two different teams. So like a better team and then a team that's not as good. So like an A team and a B team. So if you made the A team, you were one of the best. And if you made the B team, you were still like okay, but not one of the best. Anyway, so I practiced really, really hard, and I really, really wanted to make the A team. So I went and I played, and I thought I played really, really good too. And I thought, like, for sure, okay, I practiced so hard, I did my best, I'm totally going to make the A team. And when they posted this, I didn't even go, so they had posted this sheet with everybody's names on it, and I hadn't even seen it yet. And one of my friends ran up to me, and they're like, "Oh, we're so excited to be on the B team with you, Jode." And I was like, oh. And I didn't really know what to say. And then I went and I saw that I was on the B team, and I was sad about it. And then I had all these people come up too and were just like, that makes no sense, Jodi. Like, we feel like you probably should have been on the A team. Like, you practiced really hard and you did it. And I was really, really sad about it. And things didn't really go the way that I thought or expected. There's actually a story in the Bible too about a guy that had things go maybe not the way that he expected. So Joseph was the youngest in his family, and he had 10 brothers. 10 brothers! I've got one brother, and that seems like a lot, but he had 10. So that's a lot of, like, brotherly dynamics going on to control. And the thing about it is that Joseph was his dad's favorite. And lots of parents aren't really obvious about it, but, like, Joseph's dad was. He sent all of the other brothers off to watch the sheep while he let Joseph stay home. While they were all there, he like gave Joseph this like cool coat that had all these colors on it, and his brothers were like, "That's an awesome coat. Like, where's ours?" And the dad's like, "Only Joseph gets one." Like, it was pretty obvious that Joseph was the dad's favorite, so his brothers didn't really like him very much. So one day, while the brothers were off looking at the sheep, the dad was like, "You know what, Joseph? I want to know if the sheep are okay and if the brothers are okay. So I'd like you to go check on them. I'd like you to go over and see, like, just make sure everything's going on okay." And Joseph's like, "All right, I'll do that for you, Dad." So while he like was walking towards the brothers, they were like, "Oh, Joseph's coming. Oh, we don't want to see him. We don't want to talk to him. We don't want to hear about how he's awesome and Dad loves him more than all of us." And then one of the brothers is like, "You know what? Why don't we just kill him? Why don't we just kill him out here?" And then his older brother Reuben is like, "Hey guys, that's a little extreme. Why don't we just like beat him up and throw him in a hole?" So that's what they did. While he came up, they started to beat him up, and they stole his coat of many colors that he had loved. They just stole it from him, and they threw him into this deep hole where he couldn't get out. Uh, so while he was in that hole, these guys from Egypt came along, and they were known to like buy and sell stuff. Like they'd try to barter and be like, "Hey, do you need anything, or do you have anything we want?" and things like that. So while they came up, Joseph's brother Judah was like, "Hey, we should totally sell Joseph to these guys. They probably want a slave, so why don't we just sell Joseph to these guys, and then we're done with him. He's gone." And the other brothers went, "All right, that sounds like a decent plan." So they got him out of the hole, and they gave him to the Egyptians, and the Egyptians gave him 20 pieces of silver for Joseph back, and then Joseph became a slave in Egypt. So Joseph went from like prized favorite boy in his family to being the slave that like had to do everything that somebody said. So what happened is the brothers went back to their dad. They took his coat and they smeared it with this blood from an animal that they had killed. And they're like, "Dad, like when Joseph came to see us, he got attacked by this animal and he died." So they totally lied to their dad, and the dad was like super sad, right? Because Joseph was his favorite, and was like, "I can't believe my favorite son died. Like, this is horrible." So I don't think that Joseph thought that he was going to get thrown into a hole or beat up or sold into slavery, and that he'd be taken away from his dad and his family. And again, there's lots to the Joseph story, guys. Like, if you want to read it in your Bible, you should. It's in Genesis. It's at the very end of Genesis. You can read the whole story there. But lots of stuff happens to Joseph, lots of crazy stuff. And he gets thrown into jail, and he gets lied about too. Like, people are saying he did things that he didn't do, and all this crazy stuff. But he actually ends up really good friends with the Pharaoh, which is like the king of Egypt, like the guy that runs the whole thing. Anyway, he ends up friends with him, and then he ends up being like the second in command. Like, he's basically the prince of all Egypt at the end of the story, and ends up running the whole country, and then ends up saving his family, actually, because they're starving. It's a crazy story. All that to say, I don't think Joseph knew when he got beat up and stuffed in a hole and sold into slavery that it was going to work out that way. He could have really easily been like, life is gross and hard and I'm not even going to try anymore. But Joseph didn't give up. And because he didn't give up, he actually got to do some really cool stuff. And about even my story, which isn't nearly as cool as Joseph's, but with the volleyball stuff, I played on the B team, I continued to work hard, and the next year, I made the A team. It was awesome. And I probably learned more being on the B team that year so that I could play better on the A team. So, because I didn't give up, I also got to have a really cool experience. That's what determination's all about. I'll see you guys next week.